Okay, I want to talk about a couple news stories that are going on right now. And one is just another corporate bailout. And it's just really disappointing because we the people need a bailout a lot more than just one fucking $1,200 stimulus check plus $500 per person or per child. That's simply not adequate for pretty much any working person, especially if you have a family to support all your just normal expenses to just carry out your just a regular month and just be able to survive. So just another corporate bailout is just another way that our government's just screwing us over. It's bailing out the corporations and then not supporting us at all, or supporting us very little. But this time it's the Fed that's giving us a shaft and not Congress. Because right here in commondreams.org, they have our article talking about a Federal Reserve program approved by Congress and aimed at providing emergency relief to large companies contains a catch which would permit the corporations to lay off employees and spend the money on executive pay, according to Washington Post report. Through the primary market corporate credit facility, the Fed will provide $500 billion to companies by buying bonds. Corporations will be required to repay the Fed back with interest. But after a change was made to the program by the Federal Reserve weeks after it was approved, the companies will not be required to abide by rules and restrictions set under the CARES Act. It says right here, it will be exempt from rules passed by Congress requiring recipients to limit dividends, executive compensation, and stock buybacks, and does not direct the companies to maintain certain employment levels. So they could just lay off however many people or however many employees they feel like it. So whenever I first heard about some people usually, or mostly conservatives, talk about how they're protesting the government shutdown or the government closing the state because of the COVID-19 and they should open it up real quick. At first I just thought that why are they protesting this? It's still a serious epidemic. Just a whole bunch of people are getting ill and our healthcare system's not even treating the people that are getting ill. So if more people get ill from opening the government back up already, it's going to be even a bigger disaster because even more people have to go and suffer without any treatments. But I did watch one guy on Rising. He talked about how actually these protests against the government shutting everything down and putting these stay-at-home orders, it's actually good because we need to ensure that the government is not taking away our civil liberties. So that's good. That's a positive note. But they instead of just protesting that they need to open up the government, people on the left and us progressives, we really need to get a hold of some of these or a lot of these conservatives say, hey, instead of just talking about open up the government, we actually need to push all these state governments to really say, hey, we need you guys to push the federal government and say, hey, we need a UBI, universal basic income. We need single payer health care. And for the states, that means that they need to expand Medicaid coverage and Medicare coverage because the states really need to step up when it comes to treating and making sure people's health care needs are met. We need to push for that. And we also need to push any increases to any state employment jobs that the government can produce to really provide any jobs, anything to fix any of the infrastructure issues we have, or making any changes to any government institutions that need to at least go through temporary change because of COVID-19 and try to have a little more physical separation with each other, anything of that sort. So, and another thing we also need to push for is an increase in the minimum wage, because just open up the government right now, having everything go back to normal after our economy's starting to fall apart, especially after just a couple weeks of the government shutting everything down and business is starting to fall apart. We really need to push for structural fucking change in this country, not just say, oh, let's just go back to how it was. No, fuck that. We need to make sure this government starts working for us and not just the big corporations. Another thing I wanted to talk about was Bernie fucking Sanders, because the state of New York's kicking him off the ballot for the for the Democratic primary, and he wants to talk about, oh, he needs to get back on the ballot so he could accumulate more delegates. Well, my answer to that, he should have fucking kept his ass in the fucking race. Because trying to stay on the ballot now and try to get more delegates now isn't going to do him any bit of a fucking good whenever he should have been running and just fucking putting a blowtorch to that fucking shitty ass party called the Democratic Party and saying, hey, you guys don't represent jack shit. Just like the Republican Party doesn't support jack shit except for the big corporations and the wealthy. And we need to burn your guys' money train down. We need to take this shit over. I'm talking about the government, not take the party over, because the party needs to get fucking burnt to the fucking ground. You know, burn your ass to the ground, and what we're going to do is continue building this political revolution, because we're going to transform our economic system and our political system, and on the way, our social system. So the United States and just how we organize ourselves actually works for everybody, and not just for instead of wealthy white men. But since Bernie actually wasn't someone that wanted a political revolution, he just wanted to talk about it. He didn't do anything of the sort. He didn't even want to criticize the Democratic Party for cheating him in 2016 with all the issues they did with closing polling places all over the country in 2016. He didn't say not one fucking word about that shit. So he has really failed the working class people of the United States, and we just need to organize outside of all these political parties, and we just need to push to get some structural changes and not really be too concerned about one politician. I'm just upset at Bernie Sanders because he by himself could have really pushed this progressive movement a lot faster, especially in 2016. If he said, no, I'm actually not going to back whoever, if Hillary Clinton beats me in the Democratic Party, I'm going to back her up. No, if he actually said, no, fuck that, I'm not going to do it, because you guys are beholden to the money interests that I'm running against, so I'm not going to do it. I'll be Ralph Nader. I'm going to burn your shit up, because we the people need to actually have a government that works for us. So if you guys, and he should have said that right from the jump. And then during the Democratic convention, he should have walked out with the surrogates and say, you know what, we taking this shit independent, and we taking this shit third party, and we running this gravy train, or this populist wave right into the fucking White House. But since he was too invested in keeping, I think he's too invested in keeping his own personal position in the Senate and keep his own power and his own cushy spot. Just how it is, he wasn't really willing to go that far, because if he didn't win in the 2016 general election, Democratic Party would have came after him, and it would have been pretty rough. Even if he was able to try to run for a seat in the House in Vermont, the Democratic Party would came after him. I don't think he would have been able to beat him, because they would have done all sorts of cheating and all sorts of bullshit. against them. So yeah, we just gotta keep on organizing. Just we really need to keep these strikes, but we need to start striking over a universal basic income and actually get minimum $1,200 every 2 weeks from the federal government, because they're giving these corporations hundreds of millions of dollars to prop themselves up when they're very profitable and they have enough cash to be able to, or they've earned enough profits to be able to stay afloat for a couple months or at least 1 month with barely any consumers buying any of their products or services. So it's really unacceptable for us to not really say, hey, we need universal basic income. You guys shoving all this money to all these corporations. Now you need to give working people $1,200 every 2 weeks. You need to give some small businesses some money too. That's all you did with the first round of loans for these small businesses was just give it to big business. So it really hasn't helped out. Not like it should have.